What this presentation is today, I like to call a creative video hustler's guide to the universe. These are real-world strategies for breaking into the online video production, but also real-world strategies for succeeding in online video. Breaking in isn't super hard as far as I'm concerned, especially with the accessibility of cameras. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about today, and those of you that were in my session yesterday and elsewhere know that a lot of what I talk about is actually mindset. It is more important that you have the proper mindset and attitude to move forward in this business to me than any tools or techniques. So there's a lot of information out there that's readily available. What I'm going to share with you today is not information that's readily available, but it is information that is well known by the people that practice it. So just want to start off with just something, because I come from a film school background. I teach in a film school. There's a lot of basically creative aspiring filmmakers, and I know a lot of you guys in this room are creative aspiring filmmakers, so you aspire to be, independent filmmakers. But the problem with that is that filmmaking, for personal filmmaking, creative filmmaking, does not pay the bills. It's just a reality check. There are very few people you know that make their living by actually writing their own scripts, coming up with their own stories, and then somehow being able to turn that into paying the bills. So there's lots of people that make films, they're just not making any money at it. In fact, it's the opposite. They are paying money to make their films. They're begging for money on Kickstarter, they're doing all these things to raise the money, and then they feel, a debt of ingratitude to these people. So this is one of the ways. So once you graduate film school, if you aspire to be a filmmaker, you only have three real options. So one is that you end up working for other filmmakers, so you end up crewing. Nothing wrong with that at all. You end up being camera, you end up being gaffer, you end up being an associate producer, something like that, but you're essentially helping somebody else bring their vision to life. So what I'm addressing is if you have your own creative stories that you want to tell, how you can get around to that through freelance filmmaking. The other option that people have if they want to be filmmakers is they can work in the mainstream. So they have a non-filmmaking job during the day, and they make their films on the nights and weekends. A lot of people do that, nothing wrong with that. However, it's a very slow learning process that way, and you have to use your spare time. And then the other way to do it is the way that I like to do it, and that is through freelance video. So some people think freelance video is the end to creative filmmaking dreams, and I think it's a beginning. And not only is it, it's a smart beginning to your creative filmmaking dreams, because I am getting practice shooting, I am getting practice producing, I'm doing all these other things. So do not fall for the con of being a starving artist. A lot of people have that mentality in the arts world, and I know some of you guys are more from the corporate world as well, but just want to point it out so you can share it with your more artistic friends. What we do has just as much craft and merit as anything anybody does creatively, and we're a lot smarter because we can actually pay our bills with it. So our services and labor have value, and you should try to extract some of that value from them. But you have to value them first. So here's some of the things that freelance video can do for you, and some of the things they've done for me. It's helped me better hone my craft. It's financed the cost of my equipment. My camera was paid for in 3 months after I got it. Other people are still paying off their credit card for cameras they bought if they are not doing freelance video. I gathered a lot more filmmaking experience. And most importantly, I am learning on other people's money. Other people are paying me to learn to be a better filmmaker. So from a creative standpoint, I don't think you can do much better than that. I also get to experiment with new techniques and gear, and I'm meeting all the people that are going to help me later on make bigger creative films. Not only that, but I don't have to beg for money if I want to make a creative film. I can use the money from freelance to go and make a documentary or whatever else I want. So preparation, I'm just going to breeze through some of this because you guys seem like you're pretty much past film school, but just some of the major film schools on the West Coast and East Coast. I also happen to teach. I'm an adjunct instructor at NYU, New York University, and I think that is the best film school in the world. USC also being right up there with them, but these are pretty much the top programs that I recommend on both coasts. If you're judging or thinking about film school, the best way I think to judge any film school is by their alumni. It's real simple. You don't got to look at a program, you don't got to look at a website. What have the people that have graduated from that program done? That's the proof in the pudding, and that's how I think you can judge a film program. A few things to talk about film school versus self-teaching. In the corporate world, I know a lot of people are self-taught, and it goes both ways. There are many advantages, and it really is more of a matter of what is your personal style. Are you more of a person that needs, a little more hand-holding? Film school is great for that. The best thing about film school, I'll just point out, the list kind of speaks for itself right there, But what you get in film school that some people don't think about is relationships. You don't get that self-teaching. So, and I love the self-teaching resources. I also, am an instructor on lynda.com. So I'm not poo-pooing them. They're just pointing out that one of the big things you get in film school is just you're spending blood, sweat, and tears with people in the trenches, and those people, you become very close, and they become people you can rely on later on. So that was one big thing, as well as having mentors and somebody always there to answer your question. However, self-teaching is a lot cheaper, especially if we're talking about, the major universities out there. And also self-teaching can be more painful, something you should be aware of, but it's a lot faster. So all advantages to those. Other filmmaking organizations, going to skip over that. Other places, these are some of my favorite ways to learn filmmaking. So if you're looking to expand your skills, these are some of the things that I recommend. Lynda.com, top-notch online training. I have more than 20 hours of instruction on lynda.com. If you guys look up my name on there, new episode of Pro Video Tips comes out today. That is a weekly series, comes out every single week. Double Down Film Show podcast, I want to point out, it's a podcast that me and my partner, Pete Chapman, do together. And what we do on the Double Down Film Show podcast is talk about all the things that they don't talk about in film school. So as I was progressing in the film career, I came across a lot of things that nobody talks to you about dealing with clients. Nobody talks to you about how do you work with a costumer. Like once you move up to a certain level and you're ready to hire a wardrobe person, what do you have to do as a filmmaker? What should you expect? So these are the kind of things we talk about on there. And more importantly, just to tout one more thing from that show, because I think it is a unique podcast, and that is that we also talk to people as they're rising up. We don't talk to the Steven Spielberg. We do have a few. I mean, we've had Zoe Saldana on, we've had some other big name stars, Hill Harper, but more importantly than that, we try to talk to people that are making their first features, people that are at the same level as some of you, and get their experience. And I'm happy to say that many of those people have now gone on to bigger productions since we've done that. Jamil Salim is one person, Ava DuVernay, if you guys have heard of this buzz with Selma, they're talking about Oscar. We had her on the show 2 years ago, so before they rise up. So it's very interesting to go back and listen to what their experience was then and seeing what the arc of their career is now. Vimeo Video School, also another place. But I want to get into the crux to what I really want to talk about here today, which is 5 lessons, 5 corporate video lessons that most people only learn the hard way. So I'm going to jump straight into those. First one is that it ain't about the tools, it's about the skills. A lot of us in this business, and especially here, we spend a lot of time arguing. Sometimes they'll have, there'll be a bar fight over whether or not, 4K is better than 6K. No, it's time to upgrade to 6K. We get into all of these things about which camera is better, and it really doesn't matter that much, because whatever camera you guys are thinking is the very hottest camera today, if I come back here in 3 years, you won't want to touch that camera. You wouldn't even think about shooting on that camera. Oh my God, I won't touch that. But today you will fight, give up your firstborn to get that camera. And I think the focus is in the wrong place. I think our focus should be on skills, and that's where I put my focus, because the skills are what we use to apply to that. A camera is just a tool. So the tools will come and go, and they're only going to get better. But your skills are going to last around for a long time. That's not the tools that are going to get better, but the tools will come and go, but your skills will get better over time. So I'm always focusing on what techniques can I use? Skills and techniques I'm talking about, as well as knowledge. I'm always trying to expand my knowledge about cinematography, because that's what makes me more money in the long run. It's not owning a Red, it's knowing what the hell to do with the Red or any other camera you put in my hand, and teaching others to do that is how we get better at our craft, and it's also how we get more opportunities, which I'm going to talk a lot about. So don't get caught up in the specific tools, get caught up in the craft. Instead of reading up for every article that you read on the latest camera, read another article on cinematography techniques. For every article, for every debate that you have about which camera you should be using for which job, you should have an equal debate about which camera techniques you should be using, because those you can apply to whatever camera comes out in the future. What else? Other things I'm going to share with you guys here. Oh, sorry, I got the same ones there. One more time, bam. I changed my transitions by mistake there. So I want to give you guys a case study that demonstrates what I'm talking about right here. And that is, this is a little video I did. It's only 2 minutes, but this is just a demonstration. And I'm going to reveal something to you about this video after I play it. This is a commercial I did for
I have a lot of hair, it gets
company.
really tangly, but when you keep it healthy, it doesn't get as tangly.
My hair will get really, really dry, and when it's dry, it makes me feel uncomfortable because because it doesn't feel soft.
When I wake up, my hair is like a bird's nest.
I use the Orange Blossom shampoo and conditioner, and then all the tangles are out.
And then you put the conditioner on it and just spread it around your hair for a few minutes and then go back in the water. And then after it dries, then your hair will be soft.
The smells and the essential oils that are in the Orange Blossom product calm me and put me to sleep easier.
The Orange Blossom conditioner has really good ingredients in it, and it makes my hair really smoothed out. I kind of like the way it feels.
The shampoo doesn't have chemicals because the chemicals are already bad for you.
It's healthy and organic, and it has good ingredients that I'm putting into my hair.
It's better than those other brands because they don't have organic ingredients at all.
It makes me feel calm, and I like the smell of my hair.
I'd recommend the Orange Blossom shampoo and conditioner to my friends because it makes my hair softer and smells nice and doesn't get frizzy, which is good.
So I showed you guys that little commercial there that I just shot recently this summer to illustrate 2 points. First off, this commercial was shot with a 2-man team, just me and one other person, and 50% of the content that you just watched on there, that the client loved, that people have responded to, that's getting nice views, was shot on this iPhone 5. All of that B-roll was shot on this iPhone 5, not After Effects. It wasn't done any special plug-in. It was shot on this as is using the super vintage 8mm app. But it's a classic example of it isn't about the tools. The tool is just a tool. It's about the cinematography. It's about the story you're telling, and that's what I focus on in all of my work. So if you don't have, the latest, greatest camera, don't let that stop you from telling a story. You obviously need something appropriate to whatever it is you're doing, but any tool can do the job. So what else? Networking 101, I'm just going to throw in some little pearls of wisdom out there. Some people are really intimidated by networking, but we're in the perfect place to do it. In fact, there's going to be a networking event later on today, and I just want to talk briefly about what it is. Networking is really just putting yourself out there. It's not, it's not people, think it's really intimidating, but network is really just letting people know that you exist, letting people know if you want to be in this business and you want to break in and you want to break through the new areas of this business, you're going to have to put yourself out there to people. When you're networking, you want to give first and don't expect to receive anything. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in another slide. You want to follow up within 2 weeks with another contact. So be it an email or something like that. And business cards, something we definitely want to carry, although ironically, I do not have any in my pocket at the moment. And also another thing is that you want to go with the friends. So networking, if you're a little shy and you don't like talking with people, you're going to go with a friend. My man Stefan is here, and later on today I'm going to be standing next to him and we're going to be working the crowd. That's going to give me a little more confidence. So if you're a little shy, that's understandable. Take somebody else with you, and it helps open things up at the end of the day. But you got to get out there, and you have to exchange ideas and talk to other people and let people know what you do. It's one of the biggest ways to break in, and that is just interacting with other professionals in the industry. Another important point that I would share is that until people see your work, all they see is you. This was a quote from filmmaker Adrian Bellick, who was the director of an Oscar-nominated film called Genghis Blues. And it's an important thing to remember that personality counts a lot. If you want to succeed in this business, or any business for that matter, this isn't just, this isn't just streaming media, this isn't any type of business. Your personality counts a lot, and people forget that sometimes. Your first impression, it's important that you make a positive and lasting impression the first time that you come out to people. It is vital because sometimes you only get one chance to make a first impression. So you can have the best work in the reel, you can have the best reel in the world, you can have the best camera in the world, but if people cannot get past your personality or they don't like you, they're never going to see your reel. They're never going to see your work. So some people think, that, oh, if my work is really good or I own the red camera package and I'm selling it at a, renting myself out at a good price, that's enough to get work. It's not enough to get work. Some people get confused by that because you see famous people sometimes that act a little, eccentric or whatever. Those are people that have already made it. They have the money that they can, act and dress a certain way. So the CEO has the rights to come in shorts and tennis shoes. Everybody else does not. That's a CEO's privilege. All things being equal, likability is a tiebreaker. If I have two people I'm considering for a job, or if you're one of two people that are up at the end of the day, you got similar skills, your rates are similarly the same, your reels are about the same, what's going to make the difference between who they choose? Who do I like more? Who do I want to spend the next 3 months of my life interacting with on a regular basis? It does count. And your reputation, by the way, is the single most valuable thing that you have. You do want to protect that, and you want to make sure people think highly of you at all times, because I'll tell you in all honesty, my reputation gets me more work than other things in my reel. Word of mouth, what people are saying about you is enough. If somebody that they trust says this is a good guy, this is a good woman, this person does good work, that's enough for them. There are people that if they tell me so-and-so is good, that's it. That's all I needed to hear. So guard your reputation, because your reputation gets you more work than your reel, in my personal opinion. So opportunistic, I want to talk about this. I think the word opportunistic has been, it's been hijacked over the last couple of maybe decades or so. But opportunistic is not a bad word in my advantage. It is how I get a lot of work, by taking advantage of opportunities as they arise. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. You cannot succeed in this business, you cannot get more work and grow in this business if you don't first learn to recognize opportunities. The biggest problem with opportunities is that people see certain situations and are looking at it from one side and one perspective, and they can't see all the opportunities in there. I, on the other hand, see a lot of opportunities. Oh, I'm going to come back to that one. I'll come back to that slide there. Hang on one second. I jumped out of order here. Hang on. Excuse me. Voila. We'll come back to that one. Bam. So I'm going to come back to my opportunistic slides, and I'm going to get to a pearl of wisdom, because I have a lot to say about opportunities, but I got a slide out of order there. Little pearl of wisdom I'm going to give you that I just mentioned CEOs in a minute ago, and that is dress the part. So when you are out there, whoever you're interacting with, you want to dress the part that you like. And I see a lot of people dress similar to, the way that everybody, in fact, everybody in this room is dressed pretty much the same as far as corporate video. But whatever it is that you want to do, you want to dress the part. It makes a difference. And I'll tell you guys a quick anecdote that I shared with people yesterday. I learned this lesson through real-world examples, and one of them was when I had a fellowship as a college student at Warner Brothers Studios. I worked in the office during the day, and the second half of the day they pair me up with different professionals, and I walk around the studio. One thing I didn't know in Hollywood then was that nobody wears suits in Hollywood. The only people that wear suits are like executives. But I was an intern. Here I am, this 20-something-year-old kid dressed in a suit and tie, and what I found very quickly was that I got carte blanche of the studio. I was literally walking into any sound stage I wanted. Not only was I walking into any sound stage I wanted, completely unchallenged. Nobody said, hey, who are you? People came over, actors on shows came over and introduced themselves to me. Hey, how you doing? I'm Mark Cooper. Hey, this is Holly Pete Robinson. I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm Anthony, some little intern. And it dawned on me that, oh, it's the dress. It was strictly the clothes, nothing else. I am literally the lowliest person with no power whatsoever on the Warner Brothers lot. If you ranked everybody on the lot, I'm at the bottom below the PAs. But I was getting treated totally different, and it was through nothing else than my dress. These people had no clue who I was, but they read something into how I was dressed. Another story right here too, this is Sundance, and that's Woody Harrelson, and there's a funny story behind that picture right there, and that is that I'm standing, by a door one day, I'm getting ready to leave this party, and a guy walks in and he says, hey, do you know where Chef Dance is? Chef Dance was like this $200 a head party that was going on right next door to the party. I was in a party for regular people, I couldn't get into the fancy party, and I'm like, oh shit, that's Woody Harrelson. Woody walks in the door, and I'm like, hey, this is a good opportunity. So I start walking right behind Woody, and the guard stops me for a second. He's like, you with Woody? I'm like, yeah, I'm with Woody. He looked at my clothes, and he's like, go ahead. I had a $200 a head party, met a bunch of celebrities, and took a bunch of more pictures. But it was all based on nothing more than how I was dressed. And in that particular case, just in case you were wondering how I was dressed at Sundance, I was on some pimp thing back then, and I was wearing this big faux fur coat. And people treated me totally different. It was really try it sometime. Kids were walking up to me. It was the strangest thing. Kids walked up to me, and they were asking me for my autograph. They didn't know who I was or what I was, but just how I was dressed and walking. By the way, when you walk with a fur coat, you carry yourself differently. You got a little pimp walk when you wear a fur coat. So I think they just ascertained by my attitude that this must be somebody, and they insisted that I give them my autograph, which I did. But I was like, wow, that is just based on appearance. Your appearance is big. So even if you're not there yet, go ahead and dress for the part that you want. Number 3, don't hold your hand out unless there's something in it. So we want to pay it forward first. We're going to give first, and we're going to ask last. So I'm always trying to look for ways to help other people. One of the biggest ways I get ahead. It instantly disarms people's suspicion. Sometimes they get suspicious because you're helping them, because it's so rare sometimes. But it is a great way to stand out, is to first find out what you can do to help somebody else. So when I am networking with people, one of the things I'm listening for when I'm networking, and that's the biggest part of networking, by the way, it's listening, not so much touting what it is I do, but listening for how can I help this person? How can I create a win-win situation to help this person? Some people, on this slide I kind of put up more for younger people, because some people think that, that the world, somebody should help me. How come nobody's helping me get on with this process? And the reason nobody's helping you is because there's no reason they should help you. There's a million people out here that need help. There is no natural incentive for any stranger to just help you get your production business going, to give you a break. But if you do something to help them, if you demonstrate that, hey, I've been paying attention to what you do, and guess what? I have some graphic skills. You're trying to start that new startup, I can do a logo for you, no big deal. So whatever it is that you have that you can offer for people, and a lot of times it's not something big, by the way. Sometimes when I say offer people, I've done something as simple as listen to somebody's problem and tell them about a website that I knew would solve their problem. Just like that, meaning couldn't figure out how they could do this done. Well, did you know that you could get a web template from this site, templatemonsters.com, and have a really professional website up in like 24 hours and it'll cost you less than $100? Really? If somebody didn't know that, you guys might all know that in this room, but if you didn't know that, you would think this is amazing. Wow, I've been sweating about how I was going to afford a web designer. So sometimes it's a little thing, but I'm always looking for a way to help the person that I'm dealing with. So you got to give some to get some. As old as time, that rule has been around for a long time. Now, going back to the point that I wanted to bring up earlier, and that is you have to train yourself to recognize opportunities that other people don't see. I am a supreme opportunist in the best sense of the world, in the best sense of the word, and that I always see things that other people don't. So the opposite of an opportunist, in my opinion, is a fool. It means like there's a $100 bill blowing in front of you on the ground and you're looking at it and you're like, what is that? I don't know what that is. And while you're looking at it, somebody else comes along and goes, shoo, and you're like, oh, that was a $100 bill. That happens in life all the time. I see it. So what you have to do is train yourself to see opportunities. So I'm like that kid in The Sixth Sense. He used to see ghosts. I see opportunities around me that other people cannot see. And sometimes I think that I'm crazy, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I see an opportunity there. I'm like, yo, do you see that opportunity? And my friend will be like, I don't see an opportunity. I'm not doing that. And I'm like, but it looks like an opportunity to me. Look everywhere, just like that. They just start appearing. Opportunities are all around you, but you have to take advantage of them. So I give you one example. In fact, how I've got here today, as a matter of fact. One opportunity is that as a administrator at NYU Film School, one of the early responsibilities of my job was training film students on cameras. There was no extra pay for this when I was training them. So some people had an attitude of, well, why should I do this if I'm not getting paid extra? I saw opportunity. The opportunity has led me to tens of thousands of dollars. It's led me to books. It's led me to lynda.com. I had never taught a class in my life on anything, but because I recognized that, hold up, so I'm going to get to better learn the equipment. I'm going to become more familiar with the students. I'm going to get to repeat this process over and over again, and my training got better and better and better over time. But at the exact same time, somebody else that had the same responsibility was mad about having to do that. They could not see that there was other avenues that you could branch out from that. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Opportunities are around us, and I really think you got to learn to look at them. So don't look at the surface of the situation, look at it creatively. So really what I'm talking about, a lot of this is creative thinking. So opportunist is not a dirty word. We want to learn to seize them, and it's really all about perspective. So I'll give you another example of an opportunity that I saw that other people didn't see. Working as a temp for a reality TV company in Hollywood back in the day, a temp, and as a temp I was a runner, so I was delivering packages, again, lowest man on the whole totem pole. But I thought if these people, all you got to do is let me in the door, Jack. Once you let me in the door, it's over. Like, I wanted to be a reality TV producer at that time. Don't ask me why. It was the 90s. It was different then. There was only, the reality TV shows weren't as crazy as they are now. But that was my goal, was to be an MTV producer of some sort. And my job starting off was as a runner. But I said, I'm going to parlay this opportunity as a one-week temp runner into something more. Other people would have said, oh, I got a temp job. All I'm doing is delivering packages. That is not what I saw. I saw an opportunity to get into this company. I saw an opportunity to meet people. I saw an opportunity to learn to understand the business. So all of these things I did, and within the end of that first week, they asked me, hey, you know what, you want to stick around? Why did they ask me if I wanted to stick around? Because I saw all kinds of opportunities. So I have a thing up there, Anecdote Cable Guy. So one of the things I had to do when I was a temp runner, all our job was to deliver packages from one part of Hollywood to another. That's all the hell the job entailed. And when we weren't doing that, we were sitting around. But I didn't just sit around. I went to people and said, hey, do you need any help with anything else? I'm not doing anything right now. I don't have another delivery for another 2 hours. And the first time or two, they said, that's okay. And then by the third time, they're like, oh, what the hell? Come on, why don't you go down to the library and look up, who was the robber in this crime, from 1948 on the microfiche. So I go down to the library, here you go. So what am I doing in that? I am making somebody else's job easier. I am learning the job as it goes. I'm making friends and I'm building relationships. This is all during a week of temping. Cable guy. So they had just moved into a new office and they needed to string cables for the internet. They hadn't put the internet into all the cables, so they needed somebody to do that. I'm a temp, I'm a runner. Hey, I don't mind doing that. I'll help you guys string those cables, no big deal. I'm not doing anything, why not? I didn't see it crawling on the floor and putting cables. I saw, I'm going to get to walk through every single office in this facility, and I'm going to have an excuse to hang out for 10, 15 minutes in every single room and talk to every single person. And that's what I did as I'm going. And I got to meet people. I got to understand the job. Every person I talked to, I'm asking a little question, getting them to know my personality, trying to charm them. At the end of that week, I was offered a permanent position with that company because I was hustling. I was just a package delivery guy. That's what most people would see. I was not a package delivery guy. I was an undercover spy looking to break into that company, and that is all a matter of perspective and recognizing an opportunity that's around us. But a lot of people see things and they only see the surface of it. You only see somebody that's asking you for a free video. You don't necessarily see what might come out of that. So I'm going to talk about those things as well. So opportunities. The intern that does a good job washing the dishes or getting coffee is the same intern who does a good job as CEO. Something important to recognize that. Some people, again, internships, and I know there's some controversy about internships now, but in general, how they work is like that. You're auditioning to some extent. Not to say that companies won't still take advantage of internships, but your work ethic that you display at the lowest level is the same work ethic that's going to carry through at the higher level. So if somebody's working for you as a PA and they're lazy, and they're not going to be any different when you pay them more money, that shows a lack of work ethic. So I'm always trying to show people that I have a certain work ethic and a certain hustle no matter what it is I'm doing. So to me, there is no little video job. Even the smallest client, even the smallest thing, I'm trying to knock it out the park every time because there are other things that come out of that. So number 5, there's always value in a job beyond money. This is a huge one. And this is really how I get most work. This is really how I break into new areas. This is how I ended up getting up here speaking to you. Before I was speaking at NAB or speaking here, I was speaking in the Apple Store for free. I was speaking at Final Cut Pro user groups for free because I saw that would be an opportunity that would lead to paid things, that would lead to exotic trips and things like that. But you have to recognize that value. So there are plenty of good reasons to do a job for no pay. I have a saying that I told the group yesterday: I have never, ever in my life worked for free. Not once. I've worked for no money many times over, but it's never been for free. I am always looking to extract value. And the way you do that a lot of times is by looking for a win-win situation. How can I find a situation that I can put myself in and give somebody something that they need, and at the same time, at the end of the day, I'm going to get something that I need, and that something may not be money, but there's plenty of other things we need beyond money. We need experience, we need access, we need things for our demo reels that are going to lead to more money. So Gary Coleman, it goes to Gary Coleman. Like, what you talking about, Anthony? Don't work for free. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that, what I'm talking about working for free. You want to offer your services in exchange for other things that are going to help you later on. There are many things like that. There are some opportunities that are even worth paying for. And I'll give you an example. One of the people that I do video with right now, it's really good, we're really good friends. We do probably 75% of our work together, is my partner, Pete Chapman. Early on in his career, when he did his first feature film, Premium, he needed somebody to shoot behind the scenes of the premiere. Premium is a great little romantic comedy. You guys should look it up. It stars Zoe Saldana and Hill Harper and some other people. But he needed somebody to shoot the behind the scenes of his film premiere. He was broke. He just finished making a film. He didn't have any money. I came out of pocket, paid my way to fly to Miami to shoot behind the scenes of his film premiere. So I'm basically paid money to go down and work for free. Why? Why would anybody do that? What kind of craziness is that? I recognized that this was somebody that had talent and was going somewhere, and we got along, and I know he needed a break and he needed somebody to help out, and if I didn't do it, nobody was going to do it. To date, me and Pete have made tens of thousands of dollars together as a result of things like that. So it was recognizing that opportunity that other people didn't see, and I'm going to show you something else from the same thing. So some great reasons for working for no money before I show you this video. A bunch of reasons. You can meet the rest of the company is one reason to work for no money. You might get practice without pressure. So when I'm working for no money, if you didn't pay me for the video that I'm making, if I mess it up, not that big a deal. Test your theories. Sometimes I have theories that I haven't actually done yet. Hone a new skill. Find out if you really like it. Audition for a new department. Learn a new tool. Chance to work for somebody influential. That's a big one. A lot of times I'm always trying to tie my brand to somebody else's brand. If Apple came here tomorrow and said they need a little video and they weren't going to pay me any money, I would do that video in a heartbeat, because that Apple is going to be like some bait that hangs out there and it's going to bring in a whole bunch of other companies. There are plenty of people that if you get them on your reel, just them alone, just being on your reel, even if it costs you money, is going to be bait that brings in a lot more money. It's like throwing out a dolphin fish as bait. You catch a shark. You're not going to get to eat the dolphin fish. Sorry, it's gone, but look what you do get to eat at the end of the day. People don't think about things in that way. Scout the competition. Sometimes I'm working for somebody else for free because I want to see how they do things. And then I'm going to come back and adopt those ideas and use them to make more money. Free training for a new position when I work for free. I'm building experience for my next job, and I can get a recommendation. Change people's perception. So sometimes people perceive you only as a PA, but if I work for free as a producer and show them that, oh, this person has organizational skills, this person has skills that I didn't realize they have, and they wouldn't have given me that shot, except if it doesn't cost them any money, they'll give me that shot, and now guess what? Now I am their regular producer. So again, think about these things differently. This is what I'm talking about. If you free your mind, opportunities will follow. Case study. So let me give you a case study of something here. So I want to preface this video right here. So I'm going to show you a video that me and my man Pete here did, and it was free. He did this series called GoPro Porsche. This was basically, he got a loaner car, Porsche 911. We were not paid any money by Porsche to do this, but he had the car. Basically, he was a social media influencer. He got access to this car, and he's like, hey, we're going to do some social media spots on this car. So we ended up doing 7 videos. We're not paid a dime to do these videos, and then I'm going to tell you a result of what happened for this video. So let's go take a look at something doing for free. And this is a lot of effort, by the way. These are 7 different videos shot over different days. Let's take a look.
On a lazy Sunday afternoon, I figured I'd take the 911 back to my stomping grounds in South Orange and Maplewood, New Jersey. My man Ant came back, and you'll notice that's my partner in crime. We do a podcast together every Wednesday night called the Double Down Film Show. And he's been shooting projects with 77, and for me, going back to 04, 03 even, to tell you the truth.
I'm looking forward to taking this thing for a little spin.
All right.
Pete, you only got it up to 110. I think I could easily do 125.
Right now, we're gonna catch the car in action. That's what today is all about. Like making you feel what it feels like to be on the inside, and it feels great. And basically dedicate a day to the GoPro Hero camera shot. This is a really good camera made by the good folks at GoPro. You can pop it on any of these mounts, put the camera in here, protective waterproof case, and suction cup it to anywhere on the car safely and securely. I popped the camera on the car intermittently every time I drove, but it's much better executed when you've actually got a camera person there dedicated to making sure both cameras are running.
Right now, we just got the nice shot on the hood, shooting down with the emblem. And now I think we're gonna switch it up and go back on the same road, but maybe get some wheels, something like this maybe.
We had a great time, and it was real fun. And I guess in this one, I'll just let you watch the footage, because we really captured almost every possible angle of interest of the 911 as it chews up the road.
Bam. So right there, that was not a free video. We did not receive any money for that video, but it was not a free video. That video, what just happened right there? A bunch of things just happened. This brand, it's my man's brand, 77, that's the production company that we work under. That brand is now tied to Porsche. That is bait. That's the dolphin fish. Since we've done this video, we had no experience before this. We had nothing shooting a car, least of all an exotic car. We don't have a $60,000 or whatever the hell it costs, way more money than I can ever afford, car. We have access to that car via Porsche, and then we took it and made something out of it to create an opportunity. So what happened after we did this video? After we did this one, a little call from Vespa. Ends up producing a video for Vespa. So Pete produced this video for Vespa right there. Later on, did another segment for Buick. Why? Because we have something on the demo reel that shows, hey, we can work with sexy cars. We know how to make cars look sexy. We know how to have fun and do these things. And there was another opportunity that I can't name, but there's another major car manufacturer that has contacted us since this video. The thing didn't quite work out, still in the talks, but it's something that might happen again next year before it's all said and done. But I'm trying to get you to understand that a lot of people have this mentality of, I won't, I would never do any work for free. You got to look at it more creatively than that. I love it because I'll jump right in there and do the same damn thing with a back end angle. I'm not jumping in blindly just doing free things. I'm jumping in doing it with the strategy for how I'm going to exploit this thing that is a win-win opportunity for everybody involved. Nobody at Porsche is mad about that video. Nobody at GoPro is mad about that video. You're only making friends. We are only ingratiating ourselves with bigger brands. And even if they never hire us, if Porsche or GoPro never touch anything we do, it doesn't matter because other camera companies can see that, hey, somebody else sees value in what we do. Now we got this slick thing on our demo reel that we can put out there to other people. So learn to recognize these things and to parlay these things into a little bit more than what you see on the surface. But to do that, all you got to really do, as far as I'm concerned, is learn to think creatively. So it's thinking outside of the box. So to wrap up here, pretty much there is no such thing as luck. As we all know, luck is preparation and opportunity. So once you're prepared and you have the training, the biggest thing for me is to learn to see the opportunities. I've had opportunities already, just last night, and talking to some people, just being up here talking, by the way. This is an opportunity for me. Before I leave this conference, I don't know with who, I don't know how, I'm going to get one new business partner. Money is going to be generated from nothing more than me talking to people, sharing generously what it is that I know. And I encourage you all to do the same with other people. As often as I can, I'm trying to help people. Some people I was talking their ear off. Like, okay, Anthony, that's enough help. They're trying to walk away from me at a certain point. But that's what I try to do. It's a good karma thing if you put it out there. But I say generously offer your advice to other people to the extent that you can, to the extent that time allows you. And there is a payoff in the long run if you do it strategically. We're not just randomly, helping any and everybody, but we are helping people that are, anytime I can create a win-win situation, I'm looking for that. So what I'm telling you guys to walk away with, if you want to break into this business, look for those people that would benefit from things you could do that you could also benefit from something from them. So if you can tie your brand to somebody, anything like that. And the last thing I'll share with you guys is this little statement that also led me to be up here on this podium, and that is something that Fat Joe, the rapper, said on a documentary. I worked on this documentary, Paper Chasers. I was associate producer on it, and this is a documentary about hip-hop entrepreneurs, but he said something that literally changed my whole life, and I like to wrap up with this sometimes. And it was a simple little statement, but it was like that moment in the Blues Brothers when the beam of light comes down on them. It was like that for me. And he just said this. He said, plenty of people have bright ideas, and plenty of people are geniuses, but they'll never know it because they don't execute. So you might have an idea for things that you might be afraid to put it out there in the world, and I'm telling you to go ahead and put it out there in the world. Go ahead and execute it. There are things that you've been toying with in your head, but you haven't done for one reason or another. You don't know until you put it out there in the universe whether or not it might succeed, whether or not it might take off, whether it might lead you to the next business plateau. So with that, that is everything that I have, and I say always finish with the bang. So we'll finish with the big bang now. And thank you guys today for joining me. Appreciate it. Any questions, by the way? I've got a little bit of time for questions, it looks like. Yes, sir.
So I want to talk a little bit about the idea of doing video for free, with the idea of not actually being as content creators. And I think it's a struggle for a lot of people, not necessarily at first, because at first they do in fact need something to get them going. They need something to show. But eventually, you know, at your stage of the industry, you don't necessarily need stuff to show anymore. And the fear is when you engage a potential client, even a large client like an Apple, as you mentioned, that you're, in a sense, you're setting the bar. You're setting your relationship with that client right out of the gates at, oh, this is the guy, Anthony, that he's going to do stuff for free. How do you make sure that you're not establishing that relationship so that they understand that this is just the first step? This is kind of like, you know, you're the candy man. This is the drug. Great
question. Well, first off, you make it known that the first one is free. So that's one thing we clarify. The first one is free. We're not continuing to do free work. And also in the case of, you know, some of these larger companies, sometimes it's things that, and I'm also talking about not when you're already at that level. Once you're at that level, then whatever the next big person is who you might be trying to draw in. But once you reach a certain level, maybe and you're working with the Apple, it doesn't matter that much anymore. Somebody's just trying to get something out of you. And I'm not talking about being taken advantage of, but I'm talking about where you have something to gain, where just the very fact of having worked with this company alone has value to you. You may not ever work with that company again, so sometimes to me it's a throwaway opportunity. I don't suspect that Porsche will ever say, hey, will you guys come to a video? They got high-end guys for that, but the value in us working on that, the value in Pete working on that is that many other companies now see that. Buick, Vespa, and the other company that I can't name, they all see those things. So to me, it's bait. I'm trying to get to the biggest thing I can get to and latch, onto it or hang on somehow, and people can say, oh, look up there, there's Anthony, he's up there with, this brand, and I think that's what we want to do with our companies. But if your company is very large, no, I don't think you should be working for free after a certain point. So this is really advice geared towards people looking to break in, looking to break through, because it's all, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? How do you get to a level where you're working with celebrities? Well, if there's an opportunity to work with a celebrity for free and you can just associate yourself, people are watching that always. So that would be my answer. You definitely don't want to be taken advantage of. It would only be a situation where you have something to gain. That's why I said win-win. If you don't have anything to win by doing a free video for somebody because you're already, have clients at that level, then no, I don't think you're going to get the business. Does that answer your question?
I think something else that's interesting along the lines of the Porsche video, just thinking about it from GoPro's perspective. So I mean, if you're, again, tying it into doing something for free, really you're not, because at the time you guys may have just been like learning about the GoPros and how to use those. So maybe it was just
Absolutely. That was a test run. We had never shot any car footage with the GoPro.
Get a chance to use them, and then you get to create this, beautiful video that you can use to show your portfolio and your work and whatnot. But also, I think what's relevant is that a lot of brands like GoPro, they look for brand influencers nowadays. So if they can see experts like yourselves, videographers who are using their products in these cool ways, they're going to promote your guys' work because it doesn't cost anything to them. And I mean, there's a chance you can get some free gear out of it.
Yeah, there's possibilities. And let me clarify too, these are strategic things we're doing, meaning that before this thing, even before anything goes down, we've already thought how this is going to benefit us in the long run. I've already thought how a certain free opportunity is going to, when they said, hey, teach these classes, I started making material way beyond. In fact, that's how I ended up writing a 16-page handout for my students, became, the best-selling film book on Amazon for amateur filmmakers. It started with the 16-page handout for something that I was essentially not being compensated additionally for. It's made me lots of money and bought tons of opportunities since then, but I saw that in the moment. I saw it very early on at a stage. I could see, it's like connecting the dots. It's connecting the dots in your head. It's the ability, that's why I say it's creative thinking. It's using your imagination to see, well, what could this possibly lead to? What are the other routes? It may not always work out, but I could see, okay, this 16-page handout becomes a 80-page self-published book, which becomes a 250-page self-published book, which becomes a color self-published book, which turns into articles, which turns into freelance work because you wrote an article, which turns into a book deal because of that, which turns into a deal with lynda.com. It all goes right back to that first moment in the classroom. Hey, Aunt, teach these things. Some people had a bad attitude about it. Not me. I could see it. It's imagination. It really is. It's really, in business, I think we have to have imagination the same way you have imagination in, coming up with the product. We have to have imagination in seeing business opportunities. So I'm a small guy, so I have to be able to exploit and see things that other people can't see, and that's what I do it again and again and again. Every little thing can lead to other big things, but I have to first use my head to connect the dots and figure out how those things go together. Any other questions in the room or in the back, or commentary? If anybody wants to jump in, yes, sir.
That quote at the end, with the rapper,
Fat Joe.
you got to execute. You touched on it just a little bit, but can you expand a little bit on what exactly you mean by execute?
You have to do it. Yeah, real simple. I'll give you, and I'll tell you where it came up, and this is why it gelled in my head so much, is that when we were on the movie Paper Chasers, people kept saying, Aunt, you should write a book. Like I was helping a lot of people. One of my specialties is really helping people that are just starting in the business. I love working with new filmmakers. I love making information accessible that isn't otherwise accessible. And so I was doing that when we were on the movie Paper Chasers. We had a number of people that weren't professional filmmakers. We had a comedian, as weird as that sounds, that was our sound guy, and I was training him on sound, and I was good at it, and I enjoyed doing it. And people said, like, Aunt, you should write a book, man. You should call it, Down and Dirty, Down and Dirty Filmmaking. That was my thing. You should call it Down and Dirty Filmmaking, and I was like, I should. And I sat on that idea for 3-4 years. It's now the best-selling film book. So you have ideas in our head, but we don't actually do them. We have things that we think, this is probably a brilliant, this startup, this type of idea, or if I put out this type of, new type of video, whatever it might be, but we're afraid to actually put them into action. So I'm saying it's not enough to have the idea. We had to actually execute it. And every time I still have in my head, I've got about 40 things in my head that I think at least 5 of them would make me a millionaire. And I haven't done them for various reasons. A lot of them have to do with fear and self-confidence and things like that. But every time that I've jumped off the cliff, so to speak, and executed something with a strategy, mind you, not just jumping off of a cliff, good things have come from it. So there are many people I know that are smart people. I mean, they could be doing some great things, and they're not. And a lot of it, there's all kinds of complex reasons why. But at the end of the day, the people that have actually executed, brought that idea in fruition, moved forward with it, and got over the failures and got over those things, those are the people that get through to the other side. Whereas there are people that are smarter than Steve Jobs. There are people that had the idea for the iPad. I'll give you another example. There's things that came out called the Tile. And these are these things that you can attach. Basically, if you lose your stuff, you can put it on your laptop, and then you can use your phone, and it'll track it down. I was thinking of that in the early 90s. I used to always lose my stuff. I'm like, wouldn't it be brilliant if there was something? And I used to go on about it. I'd go on, like, you got me at a bar, I'd talk to you about this idea for 40 minutes. I never pursued it and now they're all over the damn place. And somebody else has cashed in on that idea. And that was a decade ago. And I'm sure other people had the idea, but a couple of people executed it. And now it's becoming a product, and I think it's going to be a mainstream product out there. But it's a perfect example of something that just was trapped in my head. So that's just a general inspirational thing I like to tell people, is that, you got to move forward with it.
I don't want to be negative, but you have so many ideas though, and you don't spend so much time pursuing each one. When have you come across the point when you had to decide, okay, I need to stop pursuing this one, move on to something else? And when you just decide, oh, there's another roadblock I need to get around?
That's a good point. When it becomes completely fruitless, when there's nothing from it, because it's what I say. When I say I don't work for free, I also mean that these things, even in failure, and I'm not telling you anything you guys don't already know, but even in failure, there's many opportunities. Sometimes it's the things that didn't work out that help you get through to the next time you go to do a similar approach to the same thing. That's what helped you break through. It's a very fact. In fact, you could have never gotten to that point had you have not failed in this company. Many of the most successful CEOs and businesses out there failed in different capacities, and number 3, number 2, number 6 for some people was the try that got them through, but it was impossible to get to number 6 had they have not had experiences, bad experiences 1 through 5. So at some point, yes, you might reach a point where it's fruitless, and you also have to, vet your ideas. You can't execute everything, but you got to execute something. You have to take one idea from beginning to end, or at least as far as you can take it, take your lessons at some point, take your lumps, and go on to the next one. Nothing I've done has, blown up out the gate. I wish this speech was, full of, 1,000 people up in here. It's not that case just yet. Doesn't mean I'm not going to give another speech. I'm going to figure out, okay, well, why is that not the case? What can I do differently? Was it marketed this way? Whatever the case was, I'm going to figure it out and come back. I'm not just going to stop. So there are lessons to be learned, one way or another, even in the failures. But I would say the biggest thing is execute something. Some people just sit around and, spin their ideas in their head, and they're afraid, or they have one tiny, they half-ass execute it, and then they back off of the idea. And I'm saying that I've had personal success by pushing forward with things that I was terrified to do. I was not enamored with getting up in front of a bunch of people and speaking early on, but I pushed through, and it's worked out for me. Anybody else? Questions? Thank you guys for attending. Hopefully we can network and talk to you guys some later on. Appreciate it.